Welcome to Men, Sex, and Tantra.
Discover what your parents, porn, and religion never taught you about being a man and having extraordinary sex. Get ready to have your mind blown and your world rocked. And hello, everybody. It is Tanya Diamond here for Men, Sex, and Tantra, and I have Lukasz with me again. And the last episode, I alluded to fairies and Fairyland. So we're going to jump into this topic here where, yeah, I'm sure we got a bunch of stuff to say about it. As you know, most of the time, my guests and I don't spend a lot of time, we might pick like, oh, what are the kind of topics? We didn't pick anything about tattoos, and that was funny that we talked about tattoos last time.
That's true.
Right? We just kind of free flowed that. But I don't ever talk in depth to my clients about their ideas on these topics. We come up with these kind of ideas and then we roll with them. So this will be fun to see what's up. But when you say Fairyland and you talk about fairies and all of this stuff, what are you thinking? What are we talking about today when it comes to that?
I love Fairylands, and it's a beautiful space where we go and connect to the infinite possibilities, the spirit. It's the feminine energy, right? This the space of inspiration. Well, the problem is where we stay only there and we are disconnecting from physical reality. We are not grounded. And it can happen in many different ways. For some people happens because they want so much to feel that connection to the spirituality because it's so on top right now and everybody is spiritual. And everybody calls themselves goddess and the warriors and God and priestess, the highest priestess. I'm sorry, everybody's the highest priestess. They're not priestesses.
There can't be any of us lowly priestesses wandering.
No, it doesn't make any sense. Why to lower your vibration, right? You have to higher than your vibration and fly high. So then yes, we fly so high because we want to be connected to that energy. When I look into astrology, is that energy of Neptune and Pisces, right? Where is this dream world? But it's also a world of illusion. Why? Because everything is a possibility there, and everything lives as a vibration of possible outcome. So yes, there are infinite possibilities in reality, but then there is the actuality. So how to take that energy from inspiration and infinite possibilities, grounded into a physical actualization of it and manifestation. So that's like also this feminine inspiration and then plan of action, and actually doing something, doing the work and creating a structure in here and now. That's the masculine aspect of that. In astrology, as I mentioned, is going to be Neptunian Pisces energy, the 12th house, and the 6th house of Virgo, being detail-oriented and creating certain routine in life. And with all of that energy, when people shift too much into the spiritual aspects of it, and they are not able to ground themselves with, later on, they disconnect from the physical reality, so to speak, in the sense that, yeah, we are in that space of unconditional love, Fairyland. That's why the Fairyland, right? Okay. Everything is beautiful, everything is peace and harmony, everything is the bubble.
I keep laughing. I keep laughing about that because when I think about it, what I think about is a balloon tethered, like barely tethered to the body. You're the balloon out there. Your string is barely attached to the physical body and you're in an illusion. One could say we're all an illusion, but that illusionary experience in the Tantra world specifically, you get a lot of that, right? Goddess, call me goddess. I'm the high priest, like you said.
And then it comes also with this polygamy and monogamy type of topics right now too, which we probably going to
Talk
dive
about that
into as
in a
well.
different episode. Yeah.
Yeah, but because it's that spiritual bypassing comes from that, right?
Yes.
There are certain energetic laws that are beyond physical laws. I'm talking about energetic laws that um, everything is energy and like an ocean of energy. But for this, for that energy to have certain structure in in create physical reality, has to be um, grounded into specific structure, like form. That's the Saturn-like commitment. That's the work. That's the paying the bills. You know what I mean?
Oh, you
It's
mean the
just not.
mundane stuff, the actual
It's like.
everyday mundane stuff. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I've noticed that in the spiritual community too, actually, that it's funny to observe that a lot of people assume they are so disconnected from that physical reality that well, spiritual work should be free, for example, or I should do it like a seva, right? Where I just serve others and I just flow, and because I give, everything's going to be given back to me from the God and the universe, right? But I
Right.
don't have to do any practical work towards like
Yeah.
actually making money and paying bills and so on.
Right.
So that's also that disconnection between the spiritual fairyland and then being grounded with that energy
Yeah. And
and
let me jump
creating
in
the.
there for a minute. And for the guys that are not on this spiritual path yet, because I got a lot of different people that listen to my show, right? Some guys are like here for the tantra and the spiritual, and the others are like, I'm just learning about sex. Like I'm here to
Mhm,
understand that. But this is all connected because as you decide you want to get more and more conscious of what you're doing, and it doesn't matter what it is, uh, you will start to hear about things like this, especially if you read like Montauk Chia and you read any, Tantra books and you read all this spiritual, you can get caught in what I call the spiritual bypass web. And that is exactly what you're talking, this idea that somehow if your vibration is higher, you no longer have to be mundane. You forget the
mhm,
laundry. Now, you think, so what? What's wrong with that? Well, let me tell you what's wrong with that is when people stop, like they have a marriage, they got married to somebody, and the next thing they know, they've gone to some spiritual retreat. And they come back from that spiritual retreat feeling like they are above everything else that's going on. They've had a call. Do you know how many people, and you said this, like everybody's a high priestess. Every person that gets caught in this spiritual web becomes the top of the whatever it is. And that's their mission now. And that's their calling. And they're going to leave everything else behind to follow that. First of all,
they
the
also.
biggest thing I have a problem with is letting your common sense go when you walk into these realms. And that's what we're talking about when I think when we say grounded, what that means is that you are not letting go of common sense to be on a spiritual path. That drives me insane, absolutely insane when people use the spiritual path as a way to get out of responsibility, to all
Mhm.
of a sudden believe they're so special that, and then tell all the men, like if you're a woman on the goddess path, now all of a sudden, if the man's not sacred and he's not enough of a warrior and he's not enough of whatever, and he's not leading you on the freaking adventure of your life, that somehow he's not good enough for you anymore. The reality is, if you were really spiritually conscious, you could be with anybody. Because if you're
Exactly.
really spiritually conscious, the dynamic you're in changes dynamics you're in with other people. And it isn't about leaving everybody behind. It's like literally incorporating yourself into the real world. So I just
And
wanted to say that's my opinion on this.
at the same time, going back to what you mentioned, we self-project the reality that is outside. The reality outside is always self-projected. So whoever we um, attract in the relationship is exactly our mirror reflection. So if I'm with this person that is this and this way, why do I suddenly think that I'm above that? as my frequency. I only think about it in my self-perception because I want to be on that high level of high priestess, and then I suddenly see certain flaws in that relationship, and I decided to that it's not for me. Of course, there are healthy boundaries, and whatever is happening in the relationship, there are certain ways or reasons why we won't stick in there, and or we try to work on it and it won't happen, or we already actually do work on ourselves within, and we lift our awareness and frequency, and then that this relationship doesn't reflect it anymore. Those are different topics, but I'm just saying of being in that world of illusion, of the fairy tale, of wanting this prince on the white horse that would take us to this new heights, because that's what we think that we deserve as the highest priestess, without putting any work from the other side into the relationship, right?
Yeah.
So that's the world of illusion, and it's actually pretty dangerous to stay there. Another aspect of it is people tap into that awareness or that information from the spirit, let's say, into their own intuition or perception of certain things, and then their life mission is to spread the message by forcing it onto others. Like, this is my awareness, and this is how I see the reality, without even testing it, if it really works for me, if it's effective. It's just this ideology of, I don't know, I don't want to create any controversy here right now
Oh,
with
what?
specific topics,
No, we have
but
to. No, don't. No. We love controversy. We don't want to avoid controversy.
I would just say this. The effectiveness is the measure of the truth. So whatever is effective for you, if you have certain belief, and that belief then becomes effective for you in your life, that's the measure of your truth. But there's many different truths out there, and many different ways that people will live their own experience of this reality, and different ways that we create their own truth. So this trying to impose your own beliefs and truths onto others, believing that everybody has to be on the same page and for everybody's experience is the same, that's another spiritual bypassing. It's just like this forcing the energy onto others.
I know that
and that happens a lot in relationships, actually,
I know that if I go to any type of Tantra workshop or Neo-Tantra weekend or anything like that, the first thing that I get tromped on is, everybody that wants to call me goddess, right? First thing I'm like, yeah, no, that's Tantra master to you. Sorry, do not call me goddess. Why I'm opposed to that is because there's just that fact right there is saying somehow there should be a certain treatment and or a certain expectation of me. So the next thing that happens is people freak out when all these things are vegetarian and I'm 100% carnivore.
Oh my goodness, that's the topic. I didn't want to create any controversy. You're reading my mind.
Well, there you go. So there you go. I'll bring it because it is constantly, I am constantly told that I cannot be spiritual while eating meat.
Oh my God. So let's dive into that, because I love these topics. Wow, I'm having a lot of conversations with people about that, and it's all related, because when you go into the veganism and the vegetarian diet, yes, it's lighter, so yes, it connects you even more to that energy of
less grounding.
Yes, less grounding. I'm not going to say higher vibration. No, it has nothing to do with that, because we live in the polarity always. We go high in order to then connect to the earth and ground it in the physical reality. So some people, we do a lot of plant medicine. That's another topic that I really love. Nothing against plant medicine. I love it. It serves the purpose, but some people will dive into it so much and become vegan. Nothing against vegans either, it's beautiful if you feel that way, but that will create that light, that higher frequency, disconnecting from the earth,
Right.
And sometimes you need that meat.
Absolutely.
If
3 days into any of those things, I'm going for a burger. And people give me such crap. And I'm like, look, you guys are all in hysteria land, like non-grounded hysteria. If you go to one of these events and you don't realize you're cycling into everybody's higher vibration doesn't mean better. I think people need to understand that too.
yes,
Vibration is created to be at a certain level as a human being, and it's not higher. It's not the highest vibration. That is out of kilter. If you are circling around in your highest vibration, you are also not calibrated correctly. So we should know that. But everybody gets blissed out in that kind of higher ungrounded. What that means to me is totally ungrounded. And the more blissed out you get, the more ungrounded you are. You around a bunch of people that are doing the same thing. You start group hysteria of ungroundedness. I'm going for the burger because quite frankly, that is just as detrimental to your body. And especially if you have a dysregulated nervous system. If your nervous
100%.
system is dysregulated and you spend a lot of time in that blissed out, whatever, ungrounded state, you actually blow your nervous system out worse. And in fact, you can even cause harm and damage to yourself. And this
100%.
is
For me,
something
it's this
they don't
this
talk about.
this beautiful balance that has to be cultivated.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go through certain major points when it comes to um, that argument of veganism or carnivore and so on. Everything is energy. E equal mc squared, right? Period.
Yeah.
Everything comes from one consciousness. There's only consciousness that is in everything, one consciousness. So either you eat plants and veggies or animals, it's the same consciousness
Yep.
that it comes from. Everything is a sentient being, meaning
Yes.
because there's another right now push of non-cruelty, like lab-grown meat, for example, right? Where they want to feed you lab-grown meat because it's promoted as non-cruelty meat, um, where veggies, plants are alive and they
Yeah.
feel same as everything else.
They have defense
They are a
mechanisms.
living being. They have a
Yep.
nervous system. They have their thoughts. They communicate in the ways that we don't understand or most of us cannot perceive, but they do. So all of this type of I'm doing this, so you should do that because that's my perception of it. It's only your perception, limited perception of the whole truth behind it.
Right.
Do what serves you. It's beautiful if you feel like doing that or not this, that's okay. Play with it and see how it serves. Again, effectiveness is the measure of truth. How effective is your diet for you?
Right.
How you feel with it.
Yeah.
And if it serves you, beautiful, continue. If it doesn't serve you, well, start adjusting it a little. If you feel like shifting a little to that fairyland as we've been speaking of, and being unable to ground your energy in the physical reality here, maybe you should consider having something else as an energetic input in your
Burger
body.
every once in a while.
Burger, yeah, or beautiful grass-fed, grass-finished,
That's
because the whole industry is
that's
a
what.
mess
Yeah.
too. But I preach with the cleanness and organic food.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to mention about the diet dispute. We are alchemists of
Yes.
reality. We are here to literally be able to absorb any frequency, any vibration, and transmute it within our bodies with our intention, with our feeling, with our belief. So
I have a funny story about that.
perform a prayer or ritual.
Yep.
Transmute that energy of emotion of the animal, of the pain of being killed, or the pain of the plant that is being cooked or steamed, because we steam the veggies now. And always be mindful of that intention behind and the moment of maybe transmutation of the energy through prayer, through whatever comes through, whatever your belief is. just use that power that is within you to cleanse or transmute that energy,
Yeah.
because everything is transmutation of energy. Energy never dies. So
Yeah.
this animal or this plant serve us as the energy transmutation. We digest it and we produce energy for ourselves through that. And that was the purpose of their life given.
I'm going to jump in here and say the story about NLP. You said we're both certified in NLP, right? Neuro linguistic programming, for anybody that doesn't know what NLP is. But part of the belief or teachings of NLP is that what you just said, you can transmute energy, you can change what's happening. So I was at an NLP conference, and everybody was at lunch, and everybody's talking about all the transmutation they're doing and how they're going to do this and they're going to do that. So I walked up to a bunch of them, and they were a bunch of, very clean, organic eating group, right? I walked up there and I grabbed a Coke. Now, I don't advocate people drink Coke, by the way, but I grabbed a Coke. I was like, here is the elixir. Behold the elixir of life. I will drink this Coke and it will go into my body and it will heal all damaged cells and become the elixir that changes everything in my body. And I went on, and they're all looking at me like, what? And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? You guys don't believe what you just learned?
Listen, placebo is the best example of that.
Right. Well, and listen to, so how many things we know. I used to contemplate everything that since I was educated from an early age about, pesticides and blah, 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 right? All of the belief when we're putting something in our body, you already, like water, almost everybody believes that water is really good for you. I mean,
So there's a specific frequency of that belief, of course.
Exactly, right. And almost everybody believes that drinking Coke and eating sugar and stuff is bad for you. Right. Now, from a biological standpoint, I will tell you it definitely is. But we're also told that. What happened when people were smoking cigarettes, like thousands of years or hundreds of years ago, when people were smoking cigarettes and nobody died of lung cancer from them? At that point, there was no bad belief about them. So there's
collective awareness, collective consciousness that creates the reality, of course.
And so, yeah, not telling all of you guys to all of a sudden go do a bunch of heroin and drink stuff, and because
but it all depends on the strength or of the belief that we have. This is the science of epigenetics, right?
Yep.
Where the belief changes the genetic composition of the body.
Exactly. But here's the thing. It isn't just a single moment of belief. If we were to put $1,000 bill out, like if you were to take $1,000 out of your bank and take that money and put it on a busy sidewalk and 100% unequivocally believe that it would stay there no matter who went by, right? The power of having that type of, like, literally, like, not one chink in that belief that that bill is going to sit there through rush hour and whatever else, nobody's going to touch it. It would be there. Nobody would touch it. But the problem is very few people can hold that kind of focus, belief, frequency, whatever. And so that's part of what happens to us. But all right, so let's bring this back around. Fairyland beliefs. Let's summarize, and then I want you to give the guys something to think about or do in relation to this whole thing. So give us a little summary on the good and the bad of Fairyland from your perspective.
So yeah, it's important for us to be in that connection with the spiritual essence, the space of inspiration and guidance for us, which is the feminine like polarity, and then also to embody it in the physical reality, producing tangible results. So the effectiveness, masculine polarity of direction, logic, action, doing. I would say practicing groundiness or being grounded, practicing connection to this physical reality, connection to our body and our senses, and being in here and now. That's a very important practice that we should all do. Meditation is one of that. Breath work puts us in the here and now reality, connection with the nature, where we can ground ourselves, as we said, the meat eating and other things that we could do. We don't have to, of course, but one of those that will keep us in here in this reality, create a logic plan of action and follow that plan of action into a specific direction of manifesting our reality from that inspiration that comes from the spirit. But to stay there for too long or all the time and be in that fairyland space of spiritual, bypassing everything that is in this physical reality and what's happening around us, that's a dangerous space to be. I'm not saying I don't have any judgment on people's experiences and how they choose to live the reality, because as we say, the reality is projected in order to self-reflect on it. So we are the creators of our reality. So yes, we are God manifesting the reality, the oneness, one consciousness. And that's a beautiful space to be and understand that, this unconditional love. But let's not use that to then bypass a specific physical loss that's happening around us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always say, if you want to transcend, death is the fastest way there.
Boom.
I'm not advocating you kill yourself. I'm just saying that basically this whole idea that you want to transcend this normal mortal experience is actually what I call spirituality 101 babble. It's bullshit. And I do have judgment. Lukasz is cool. He's not. I am not so cool. I am actually judging that, because what I see is a lot of danger. I see a lot of people get hurt. I see a lot of people misunderstand what any of all of that means. And so if you are interested in a spiritual path and you're interested in, like, especially related to sex and creating that energetic connection and presence with yourself and somebody else, always remember that without the grounding, it's nervous system dysregulating. Without the grounding, it lacks common sense. Without the grounding, you aren't really living in the here and now. And there's nothing special about that. What's special is when you can be conscious while grounded and actually using all aspects of yourself, not negating, not letting the physical world go, to be more spiritual. Because the hardest thing there is,
100%. Life
and the
and
most
living is
spiritual there
spiritual.
is actually being in your
Mhm.
body while you can manifest, create, do all these cool spiritual things. Do them while you're grounded, and you'll get some traction without feeling like you're just a balloon tethered flying around like a little fairy, whatever else. And guys, please, those girls or the women that are trying to tell you that you're not warrior enough because you can't ground their fairy kingdom, that's not your job. Their job would be
Hopefully provide for them in that physical reality
Right,
when they are
right.
just floating in the space,
Feed them a
right?
burger. Best thing you can do is feed her a burger and bring her back. Pull the balloon back to grounding, and help everybody
Connect her to the physical senses. That's
be more grounded. So that's
awareness is about being here and now in the body and the physical
yes.
senses, as you said, and the more we connect to our physical senses and the perception of what's around us, that's the most spiritual practice we can have, the awareness of what is.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll leave it with that. And I know, because as you go on your Tantra or Neo-Tantra path, you're going to find more and more of this ungrounded kind of energy that's swirling around and feels frantic. And it's not your job to be the fire pole that stands and holds the craziness around you. That can just be crazy. Understand this. I'm going to say this one more time. If a woman seems crazy, she's in spiritual world and she seems crazy, that's true. You're not the problem. Her craziness is the problem. It's not your job to stand and be abused. It's not your job to stand and be somebody who has to rein back flaky from, the tether. It's not your job to have to step in and do all the mundane stuff because whoever you're with is like, woo, high priestess on a mission and they can't, whatever. When it comes to spirituality, and I don't talk about it often, I hold 2+ Tantra lineages. It doesn't get more spiritual than who you're talking to right here. And I get it that I sound grounded, and I get it that I might sound anti-spiritual, but that is not true at all. I just understand the difference between dysregulated and ungrounded and somebody who's grounded. So please.
Lacking balance.
That's right. The balance is key. All right, we're going to be back. And let's see what we're going to, I know what we're going to talk about next. We're going to talk about the whole, whatever happened to monogamy. We'll be back in a moment.